administrative team if they can help us. Thank you, Gabby. So I've asked the administrative team if they can help us with scheduling another session, or if we finish things a bit quicker, then that means we'll have a session, an extra session to go through certain things. First things first, assignments. I've been checking. I have not seen any assignments that have been loaded, and I know there's one due in 2 weeks. So they haven't been loaded yet. As soon as they are, we'll use the session that's coming to go through the material to understand what is required. I like to go through it in a bit of detail after I've covered some work. Cool. Just by the way of introduction, I don't know how much of you heard what I was saying last week. My name is Yolanda. I am currently working for a company called MTN. I've been there for a few years, 3 years, and that's the longest time I've ever been in a company. My background has always been only in digital. I've started off as a product owner and then went into product management and then became a head of all in the digital space. I've worked in insurance. I've worked in ISP meaning internet service provider. I've worked in banking. I did 1 year stint in government. I shouldn't have, but I did. And then I was in banking, and then now MTN. I've worked with, at the time when I started, they were called channels, and we've pivoted from channels. We now mostly work with, we call them platforms or actual digital products. And we are now looking into innovation into what else becomes in the digital space, which is, as you all are aware of, it's the use of data, monetization of data in AI. So this course is relevant because the reason I'm bringing all those things up is because this course is relevant to us all. Nothing has been defined. You know that if you're working in an insurance, there is an actuarial team that does pricing. If you work in a telco, there are people who are called pricing specialists who will do modeling, price some things for you. But in digital, that doesn't exist because the digital products have not really been priced for what they are, and no one understands the models and what it takes to make a business case sometimes, or to even price what you're doing. There are so many different things happening. So in the first lessons, we do touch on all those possibilities. I'm not going to touch on to that right now. This is going to feel like we're starting somewhere in the middle, and I'm okay with that. I'm hoping that you will watch the video, and if you don't, I'm really pushing to make sure that we do have that session, even if it's towards the end of hopefully when we're done with the lessons that we have now. But what I'll do is I'll get straight into it. I do speak a bit fast, and no one has complained not to hear me, but if you can't, please just do say so. And remember, you don't have to lift a hand or do all the weird stuff that Tim says we must do if you want to talk. Just speak. And if you've got any questions, you need a point of clarity, just speak. I'm going to go through slides. The aim of going through slides is so that you have enough information. We understand a little bit so that we can go out there and do the work that we're supposed to do. One thing, ICE tasks. Last year, I did special ICE tasks for my students, and it was my first time in this environment of part-time lecturing. So I did separate ICE tasks, and that went well. And this year, I decided to use the questions, and I think I put that on the announcements. We're going to use the module questions. As a person fills those up, then that's what we'll use as ICE tasks for all of us. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, please do feel free to ask. So you can start working on those immediately, at least for the modules that we've done. Cool. If anyone is there, is here from the last session, from my last class, if you don't mind just putting a thumbs up, it makes me feel like there are some people that I know that have moved. Like I can, okay, cool. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Ma'am, sorry.
Yes, please.
I'm just confused about the ICE task. Is it the activities, or is it there? Because I know there's micro assessments as well on the on ARC, like under the module material. Like if I'm looking at under learning unit 1,
yes,
there is some questions, and then there's like model answers. So are those the ICE tasks, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Questions. And what I'll do, to be clear to everyone, I'll just take a screenshot of one and put it on the announcement and say this is the one I'm talking about.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone. The rules never changed. Let's go through the material that we have. I know we are all working people, definitely understand. We are moms. It's a lot. And this is not the only thing that we are doing, but we are already paying for this. So we might as well take advantage of it fully. So we read the prescribed material and we engage. I do appreciate engagement and I do appreciate pushback sometimes. When someone says, that's not how I say it, or that's not how it happens in our business, that's actually quite cool. What we want to do in just the overall course is to understand what business models pin down or subpin what we call in the digital world. So what other models can we use? What other viable means to bring about revenues, and how can we set up the entire businesses to do that? In module 1, it looks at the difference between a business plan and a business model. And for me, I thought it was so obvious. A business plan is what you are using to define the market you'll operate in, to build certain outcomes in terms of this is how operationally you carry out your business. It's just a plan on how your business will leave the container. But then if you look at the business model, is how you're going to drive revenue, what product you're going to build, and who are you targeting? Like, it's just market segmentation, and also how are you going to make money? Are you going to make money by selling items? That's what we all understood back in the day. You make money by selling items. Are you going to make money by deriving other revenue streams on things like subscription? Are you going to make money on having marketplaces and having a fee of people joining in that space? So it's all those variations that are happening in the business space. So it's important that we understand that and that we can begin to make a case for our businesses in such instances. So for learning unit outcome 2, we're going to just look at various costing terms. It's theoretical. So what I do is that I look at what the outcomes are. If it says explain, describe, I know it's perfectly theory. So I'll put that in. And when it says show, demonstrate, then I definitely understand that it means that we need to get into calculations. And for those that require calculations, I'll do them and I'll put little notes on the slides so that we can see how certain things are derived and we can get to the same outcomes, all of us. But on these ones, it's purely theory for now on this conversation. And the book that we are using is the PM1, which is Management Accounting for Business, for this one only. Cool. So let's look at this. Just trying to understand, all of us, what is cost and what are cost objects. All right. So in management accounting, obviously, this refers to the measure. Please do feel free to accept others so that I don't have to pause. So we want to know the profit measurement of inventory valuation. We want to understand how our businesses make decisions in terms of how much and how and when we choose, in what we choose to invest in. So the decision making, that's quite key. And we also want to do it so that you can plan and control. So if in our normal lives in businesses today, how does this apply? We want to check how will we be profitable as a business, right? And we also want to see if we go a certain direction, how much money is it going to make this business? If we don't go, how much money is it not going to work? So that roughly refers to business cases and cost analysis, like cost benefit and what we will not consider. And planning and control, we know that about forecasting. If you've been in a big business where they do 3-year forecasting type of work, budgeting, that's what planning and control will mean in what we'll put in place. So that's exactly what cost and cost objects are in light of what we are talking about. So we can be talking about, in some instances, if you look at this, we want to understand the product. How much is this product, or how much is the service that is being provided to a customer who's providing that service internally, and also how are we going to understand how our sales territory, the market that we operate in, works. So for example, a lame example, a vehicle model produced by Toyota South Africa, right? A home loan processed by Standard Bank, that's a service. So a vehicle model produced by Toyota, that's a product. A home loan processed by Standard Bank, it's a product, but it's in the service. It's a service type of a product. A hospital procedure performed at Netcare, that's also some sort of a product, but in a service space, I would say. Sales region, that's a sales territory managed by any other company for that matter. Cool, let's look at what we have and in terms of what our costs are accounted for. So there are two broad spaces, as we can see. There's cost accumulation and cost assignment. We need to understand that cost accumulation refers to the type of expense. So direct labor and materials that are required to achieve this. And sometimes there are things like indirect costs, and we'll understand how those work. And we will look at certain things like cost behavior, like what kind of cost is this? Is it fixed cost? We've seen that in our home loans. What happens when it's a fixed cost and what happens when it's a variable cost? So think of things like general life, like in terms of just general. This is nothing specific to any industry. It's just terms being explained. Feel free. Oh, okay, cool. I thought someone was talking to us. So let's look at type of organizations that we have and what impacts them in terms of their costing, so that we can begin to look at our own organizations and say, oh, this is the space that we specialize in, and this is what impacts us. So if you're in manufacturing, obviously it's all about purchasing raw materials and converting those into products, or the use of labor to invest to get into a product. So whatever that could be called, a big machinery or a plant as we know it. And manufacturing organizations will hold three types of inventories: the actual raw materials they use to work, and the work in progress, meaning the work that's being done, and finished goods. So simple. It's like pretty much what you guys know. And merchandising organizations, it's organizations that already the material, something is already being made. They're just putting it out in the market. So it's purchased goods in finished form. I would put it more on the reseller model. So they're having what they have, but they are now putting it out in the market. And you can only hold finished goods. Like Takealot is not going to go and build your things for you. It's already there. All they're doing is distribution. So if you can look at it, manufacturing organizations obviously coming up with new things, merchandising, distribution, which falls in the sales space, which falls into reach, which is what marketplaces help us with. Because marketplaces, online and offline, they are brought up about to bring about the right products in one place and create network effects by having the buyers come into contact with the sellers at a market. So if I'm just going to simplify it and talk just about a market. If you've ever gone to a fruit market or veg market, it's all the providers of the veggies. It's all the people who are looking to buy, and they're coming to this market. There's a person who owns that space and is renting it out. So everyone just comes. So it's the same thing even in the online space. That effect of people buying goods and selling services is what we call network effects. And it's a loop that will never end. And as long as there's network effects, then there is outcomes, profit for everyone involved. Service organizations, we know that hospitals, and I would say some of them government-related type of stuff. So let's look at what direct and indirect costs would entail. And can someone just unmute and say if I am breaking, or it's just someone's challenges?
No, you're not breaking.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's fair. Thanks. Direct materials are costs that can be specifically exclusively identified with particular cost objects in manufacturing, right? So in manufacturing, those direct materials become a physical product. We all know this. Wood to manufacture a chair can be called a chair because the chair is used wood to manufacture it. And that requires those materials to deliver. You can combine a few materials, but that's what it is. And direct labor costs on the direct labor are costs that can be specifically exclusively identified with the cost objects, right? So in manufacturing, you can see that as cost of workers directly involved in converting that material into a product. So if you're looking at, for example, people who are working in a plant machine in let's say forest, and they're chopping down trees, what they're going to make is tables or roof structures. And those are direct labor because they are directly involved in converting raw material into finished goods using whatever that they're using. Pretty much fair. Cool. So indirect costs, that's definitely not people who are working directly with materials, but the work that they're doing also impacts what gets delivered. We've spoken about the example of a forest and the use of wood to create certain products. But for that to happen, there needs to be fuel. There needs to be, what else gets there? There needs to be fuel, there needs to be electricity to make sure all these things are happening correctly in that space. So those will be our indirect costs, but they form part of making this. The reason this matters is because we need to know what matters and when and how it matters when we are beginning doing the practical on costing. So is it direct? Is it indirect? Is it direct labor, or what happens with it? So also, is it an overhead? Administrative of manufacturing, and how does this work? That's why it's important. Sounds so lame, but once you get these basics down, it's easier for everyone to sort of, when we have an example that we're going to use that's calculating, to understand where these things come from. As we can see, I will talk about administrative overheads, where it will look at everyone involved, head office salaries. If you've worked in a company that has group salaries, that's more administrative. They are responsible for administrative overheads because somehow everything that they do builds down to us at the ground, delivering and manufacturing using this material, the direct material, and also working as direct labor, and sometimes indirect to deliver a service. So how do we cost this? There's a prime cost and conversion cost. This is just FYI of it. The prime cost becomes direct materials plus direct labor. That's it. Direct material plus direct labor. That's what has happened for us to receive this service. And the conversion cost is the sum of direct labor and manufacturing overhead costs. So everything that is required, that has been required to deliver the service, that is what we'll find. But both costs, prime costs and conversion costs, they will help us into getting the actual cost of delivering a service. But it's specified in different views. So direct costs can be specifically and exclusively identified with a cost object. So, for example, in South Africa, still using manufacturing and a flour used by Sasco, we would get that. But then the prime cost of it is the actual direct materials plus direct labor that is used to deliver the service. So let's look at this and how it's specified. This is straight from the textbook. Let's look at, we've got what we've called direct materials, which is what is required to deliver a product, and direct labor, the use of individuals involved in delivering that product. So that those two make up the prime cost, as we've just said. And the direct labor with manufacturing overhead, that becomes the conversion cost. And we are getting examples there of what that looks like. It's just more clarity.
Hey, Linda.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, I think you're moving a bit close for me. Can you please give me a definition for overhead? Like and maybe a proper example, because I'm really understanding.
I hear you. You are a bit choppy. I do hear what you're saying. I closed off my video because sometimes I do understand that it can impact connection.
Okay.
So let's go back a bit and look at overheads. So we have 3 types of overheads from what we're looking at. We've got manufacturing overheads, which is all costs other than direct materials and direct labor. What does that look like? So in the weird example that we are using of wood, we have wood that we have to chop down to break down to make a chair. Wood is the direct material, and direct labor is a person chopping down the wood to give us the chair. That's direct material we have and direct labor. However, that's not what makes a chair. In all of that, you need to make sure that you have weird things that are happening, like in the head office, someone needs to have done accounting to procure the service. Someone made a call to make an appointment for this to happen. Someone went and got sales to come and get this for us. Before we even had a client, to come and bring us this service. Someone marketing department went off and put out a billboard that says, we are the people who chop the best wood and we make it so smooth to make money out of it. So from that classification, those become our overheads. It means they're not direct materials and they're not direct costs, but they are all the costs involved to bring about this service.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you. Ntsepatse? Rose, sorry.
I just wanted to also ask on that part. So would you say indirect costs are overheads? Or what am I hearing? Oh, okay, I see. Never mind. I see on the slide.
Yeah. So some of it are indirect, but they're classified in different ways. So I should have had, between this slide and this slide, I should have had an arrow that points that, yes, this is what it means, but here are the examples more to understand what it really means. So yeah, you're right. You got it. Anyone? Anyone with a different view altogether? So just to slow down a bit here, with the I guess the most important part, and I'm not guessing, I'm saying that the most important part is that a prime cost is direct materials plus direct labor. That's your prime cost. And your conversion cost is the sum of that direct labor and manufacturing overhead cost. So it's everything. It seems like the conversion cost is everything that we require to give us a product. Everything. It's not specified to exactly that's directly impacting the manufacturing or the delivery of that product. I'll think of an example in a digital space. For example, I would say head office salaries at Vodacom. That cannot be a direct cost, isn't it? It's an overhead because, as I've said, head office people sitting there, they're responsible for giving us a service, the thing about the strategy and making things come together, but they're not there. They're not the ones responsible for putting two and two together in a way. I'm going to think of something better. I feel like this is lame. Let's hold on. Okay, cool. We've already explained this one. I'm not going to go through this one. I feel like that's exactly what we're talking about right now, but I do like adding extra slides when I feel like we need something to make more sense, and it's got examples of what becomes direct and what becomes indirect to help us all. Cool. Sure, and the definitions are very much clear here, that direct materials are materials that can be specifically exclusively identified with the cost object and become part of the product. The cost of the wood, the cost of the actual tree, if that's even possible. So anything that is required to make it, that's direct cost. I even feel like it. And then anything else that becomes not direct right there at that point in time, it's not even there. It's not even required, like staff, rent, CCTVs, to make sure these things are guarded very well, and electricity required to run the offices. That's not direct. Cool. I feel like I've labored this cost so much. I wanted to drive a point home in as much as possible, but here I'll go to what we call product costs and period costs. So product costs are attached to goods produced or purchased or resale. I think that's pretty much clear and straightforward for us all. They are included in the inventory evaluation and expensed when the product is sold. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. And period costs are definitely not included in the inventory evaluation. It's just expensed in accounting because they're incurred, but they're not really direct into this product. They are not attached to good produced or to the purchased or resales, but they're there. So yeah, that's fine. I'll add more examples to these slides because I have them on my notes so that we can all see. This labors the point about product costs, and it's short. Period costs that are expensed in a period they are incurred. That's now the accounting term. So if you're looking at it in terms of English, the previous definition is great. But if you're looking at it in terms of accounting to try and understand what this means, the period costs are expensed in the period that they're incurred. That's what it is. And the term, I guess the definition is in the word, period costs. They are incurred, they are expensed in the period that are incurred. And then product cost doesn't matter. The product will forever cost what it costs this time and next year, unless the materials that make it change. It will always be the same. Cool. Give me a moment. Let me pause here and see if you guys, if any questions, any points of clarity, anything you would want to add. What are you thinking? Cool. So another type of cost item that we are looking at is step fixed cost. And what is that? Step fixed is more about a mix, like step fixed and sometimes mixed. And it will include a variable part such as line rental or usage charges in an example. So here's how it shows up in our lives. A call center as a supervisor, once a call exceeds a threshold, a factory hires an additional shift when volume exceeds current capacity. In very short periods, those costs can look fixed because adjustment takes time. So here's what happens. On a normal day, I'm sure we all understand call centers. You do know that in a call center environment, you look at heads and the amount of work, and that's how you determine the output and how much you need to give back a certain NPS score, how much you need to keep up the good practice. So if you usually work in your call center and you have 10 agents, great, that's normal. That's how you produce quality every single time. But this time, because it's month end, it's closed off, people are buying more and you are investing a bit more, then that simply means you then go to your boss and say, can we have 4 more people, temps, to come in and help us with this? So that's what's called step mixed cost, because it seems normal until something spikes. And then there's a step into it that requires, that's going to be a cost. And sometimes it requires, it becomes normal, but it's not budgeted for. Someone needs to always motivate for it to happen. It's not part of business as usual. When you are doing your forecasting in your business, you are looking at the heads that are here, hot heads, and you might put in some money where you say it's possible in professional fees to bring in extra help when it's required. So that's the type of costing that is. Same thing, it explains the same stuff. So if you look at it,
Yolanda,
please go for it.
Yolanda,
please go for it.
That's that fixed.
You sound a bit muffled.
Could we apply it in a situation where? Hello, can you hear me now? Oh, can you hear me? Yes, I'm fixing my mic.
Try. Let me listen. No stress.
That's the fixed cost. Can we a scenario whereby, let's say, the sales happening in shops, or let's say Black Friday, and they added additional staff to the strength. Can we call that a step fixed cost as well?
Yes.
Or I'm not getting it.
Okay. You are getting it. You're saying it exactly for what it is. There needs to be a change in the way that you've been doing business for the past month or so. There needs to be a spike or a downward. Sometimes it's downward, to be quite honest. You realize that you don't need 50 people because your run rate has been only 5. Then you downsize. Obviously, in organizations where there are permanent people, you move people into help in other organizations, like to help in other departments like service desk or to process in the back office, because they can't just sit there and do nothing. So it's that. So it's anything that is variable, semi-variable at times, step fixed costs. It's those things that depends on how much you have by when, and then you make a case to decide. So why do these matter? These matter because when you are doing your own costing, you need to make provisions for this type of stuff. You need to have your fixed cost grades, and what you cannot do is that you cannot say, oh, we have fixed costs, right? And maybe they are like 10,000, and you say, oh, what I'll do is that I'll make provision. Maybe we will have 5,000. We will need 5,000 more over this, and you keep putting that on your monthly budget. Because how many of you guys know that if you put something in your monthly budget and you maybe don't use it all the time, it does not look good when you have to give back the money that you didn't use.
Yeah.
So then don't budget for it. Budget for it and keep it under, if I were to put that way, and keep it under what we call professional fees, because what that does is that it means that you can access it as and when you need it, or in whatever your organization calls these things, to be quite honest. But it's at least not part of your operating expenses, because what happens is that sometimes in your organizations, everyone, guys, what you are aiming to do, I forgot that my video was off. In your organizations, what you're trying to do every single time is to keep your operating expenses very low and to grow your GMV, or I would say your revenue. So you cannot blow up your operating expenses at all. That's what good business practice is. In every organization, they're trying to drive down your operating expenses. And sometimes people in sales, I was in sales, we forget that. We will do anything to get a sale. We will do anything to get that one deal. But the question becomes, is this costing us more in a long run, or is this something that is sufficient for our business as things stand? So you need to make those calls, but keep this in mind. In your businesses, what you're trying to do is operating expenses need to be very low. So manage your operating expenses and you keep your revenues. You bring in more money. That's what a profitable business obviously is. Then you can be EBITDA positive, and you can have free cash flow overall. So let's look at this. We've already spoken about, we understand what total variable costs is and what fixed costs are, but let's see what these graphs tell us and understand it, because we might need to apply these graphs in certain instances. And when we have things like assignments, or when we're explaining something, we need to be able to pull them up. They're straight from the textbook. So we need to be able to pull them up and have and understand what they mean. So variable costs vary in direct proportion, right, to the volume of activity. So that is doubling the level of activity will double the total variable cost. And in the same breath, consequently, total variable costs are linear and unit variable cost is constant. And as a manufacturing organization, as with the example that we gave, it will include direct materials, energy to operate the machines, and sales commissions. So in this space, you will see that the total fixed costs are constant for all units of activity, whereas unit fixed costs decrease proportionally with the level of activity, as you can see in these diagrams. So keep that in mind, and I'll make sure that the notes, the little notes, are right here so that we can understand what the rules imply. This is not required.
Sorry.
Copy, Ke?
But go back to the slide. Can you please go back to the previous slide? What's an example of cost driver?
I only had the term cost driver, and I'm not sure if you're saying what or why.
Yeah, can you give me an example of a cost driver? Can you know?
I had, give me an example of a cost driver.
Yes.
It's what you are getting. Remember, if what drives costs is sometimes can be your product or what you get the service for, and how many, so the volume, how many of those you're buying. So if you are doubling the level of activity, obviously you double the cost.
So it's not necessarily any external cost.
You know, I can hear you here and there. It's a bit choppy. I'm not sure if it's only me. Is it only me, guys? Can you hear BK very well? Wutlale? Can you hear Wutlale very well?
No,
Oh,
not
she's
really.
very
No, it is a bit choppy.
Yeah.
A bit choppy. I
Oh.
did hear the first part, and then the second part is I couldn't even make out, Sissy.
That's okay. I'll just type it out.
You can also type it in, and then we on some of the stuff that I can't. Yeah, also that works, guys. If you type in on the comments, even if I don't answer right now into this session, I'll definitely reply and answer to what you're asking at that point in time. So don't ever feel like, oh no, I wasn't heard, because also last week no one could hear me, no matter what I did. So good. I want to see if it's okay with you that we pause here for this session, and then we try and bring in some elements from lesson 1. I feel like we didn't do justice to lesson 1. So I'll go with, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to see how much we can push, and so that I want to bring lesson 1 in as well. I don't want to just go off completely, in case we never get a chance to get back to it. And my aim is to allow for you to be able to go on and do assignments. Because if we started something, so I'll do a video for the last remaining things. It's about 15 slides. Well, 14 courses. Thank you. Yes, Kiabetwe. Yes, Kiabetwe.
Hi, Yolanda. You mentioned that the assignments are not out yet, right? But just to ask on it, is it an individual assignment or would it be a group one?
So it's my second time being in lecturing here, and it's been mostly, I haven't seen group assignments.
Okay.
On both assignments, it's been individual assignments, and the exam, people thought it was open book, turned out no, it wasn't. But that's just the structure that was offered was happening last year. And yeah. And on the exam.
Last year, were you doing this module? Were you teaching this module?
No, I wasn't doing this module. I was doing
a different one. Okay.
I was doing digital transformation.
Okay, thank you, Yolanda.
I think, I think so. So it was not the same. So I wouldn't even know what's coming up. I don't set the assignments. I don't set the exams. I just do mark the stuff. And I try towards the end to go through everything to make sure that we all understand what's there. But it's definitely not always easy.
Okay, last question.
Sorry.
Seeing that the assignment is not out yet and it's due in 2 weeks' time, do you think we might get an extension? Or maybe the dates will be moved around, probably.
That's what I want to push back on. So I'm going to answer them today because I just got a reply today. Izzy was asking me about the same thing, Isabella. So I want to ask, what does this mean for dates for students? Because also it's we know, like, think of it, we'll have an entire week, and then only next week, can I maybe even go through it a little bit and explain what it is? And by that time, it's only 7 days before the assignment. It doesn't feel fair. But I don't know how much control, all of us, I don't know how much control we have on that to be able to say so, if I'm being totally honest.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that.
Sure. Cool. Any questions? I saw someone else unmute. Kiabetwe, was it you?
I have a question as well. It's regarding
Yes.
first, is it theme 1, learning unit 1?
Yes.
I just don't understand what is meant by, what is that thing? Value chain structure when we're doing part of a business model. So can you please explain that some more?
Is that
I
here?
don't understand what a value chain is as well. Yeah.
Okay. Give me a second. Let me see.
And last question, are we going to finish the whole textbook, the financial management one?
It's not like that. The way it's set up, if you look at, what is this, module PACER, it doesn't work like that. It's not about the textbook. So learning unit 1 was chapter 2 of the textbook. And then this learning unit 2, what we are doing today, is chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, jump 6, 7, 8 of the textbook. And then the coming ones, it's now a different textbook altogether that looks into something, and maybe a chapter or 2 from there. So it's not about one textbook. It's just about certain things cut off from a textbook. Are you guys aware of this? Let me show you.
Yes.
Is it a must for us to get the textbook?
Listen, I don't know how other students do it, and there are some things I can't say on here. and there's some things I can't say online. We would all get fired, right? But I don't know, you guys, you know how to do these things, because you please don't get me fired in life. But yeah, you hear what I'm saying, right? Like, just find it. It's not too different from this stuff. You know what I'm trying to say? Just find it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just
Thank
find
you.
it. Yeah. And I also didn't buy it. Oh, the school gives it to me, but they give me the e-version. So it's not a PDF, obviously, that will be legal, but it's the e-version of the textbook. So you guys have seen this. So it tells us that PM1 is chapter 2, and PM1, we already know which textbook that is. You have this, right? I need someone to say yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you said that earlier.
Yeah. Cool. So we don't have time now because you guys ask questions nonstop, but allow me to do this. Because it feels so weird to just start from here. So just allow me. It's such a weird thing that we're doing. I'll keep doing videos so that we are all up to date. Please do listen to the videos. I know the voice can be annoying, someone's voice in your ear, but just put it on as you do stuff, you will hear. You don't have to sit and look at it like this. Well, so that's what I was saying earlier, that a business model, we are tracking how the business creates and delivers and captures value. That's just so textbook definition. But the truth of the matter is that a business model, for example, where I work currently, while MTN is busy building and selling and buying data network, that's what they do. In our department, we are responsible for building a marketplace. We call it an API marketplace. And we needed to find out a business model. So yes, you want to do a marketplace, you want to put all these APIs and put partner APIs, but the question becomes, how are you going to make money? How is this going to add value to MTN? And how is this going to add value to clients? And what are you exactly going to be selling? So we needed to know what our product is. We needed to know how we're going to price and get the revenue, the exchange, right? So what models are there to make sure that the money exchanges move from the customer's hand to our hand, right? And sometimes people can say that's selling. It's not always the case of, here's the thing I'm selling, here is I'm buying, I'm selling. The models, that buying is different models. And that's what this study helps us look at. Not important. Please go to this video. This video simplified it a lot. To be honest, I felt like this person captured it so well because it was focused more on the digital stuff, and it talks about the world of all permutations of business models in the digital space. I'm not going to go through it. I feel like it would waste our time. The difference I touched on, this, the difference between a business plan and a business model. If you are looking at something and it talks about how the firm will operate, how the roadmap looks like, and it's talking about what we're going to focus on in terms of implementation, what we're going to implement, and it describes in 3 years we're going to make this much, in 4 years we're going to make this much. What are we looking at? We're looking at a business case. But if we are looking at a business, which is where most of us need to operate, because look at it this way, even if you work for a company and you're thinking, I'm never going to open my business, that's not true. Whenever in your company, you are the one who's responsible for pivoting. Pivoting means you are the one who's responsible for saying, this is what we've been doing. This is our bread and butter. Oh, sorry, I did forget. For real. Give me a second. I'll probably see if I can get to it, or I'll make sure that I touch on it next. I really completely forgot. If we, like business model, in your own organizations where you work right now, in your department, you here are the one who's responsible for coming up with the newer business models. And you can say, oh no, they never listened to us. That stuff has been defined. Not true. Not true. If that was true, it means businesses would never pivot. People would do the same thing that they've always done. And we know what happens to the businesses that do the same thing that has always been done, like Kodak and like BlackBerry and Nokia. So you cannot afford to. Even in your departments, you must pivot. You must look for better ways. I wish I had been introduced. We had done proper introduction so I can know which industries that you are in, so that I can make the right examples. Because look at it and think of it this way. If in your business, as things stand, you're not going to utilize how AI will catapult or change things in your business, and you have the right business model, because people will take AI and will say, oh no, it will help me do presentations, or no, I'll build agents that are doing back office work. Great, but not so great. The question is, how can you make money? How can your business make money by utilizing certain things like AI, certain things like analytics, certain things like data to deliver a service to the customer? Because remember, this is not about back office and what we are doing to make ourselves feel good. This is about how this impacts your customer all the time. Sure. Here's a simple example of that, of explaining that. Yes, please. Oh, I think so. It was a mistake. What makes Takealot different? It's not different, it's just another business model. And it's one that before never existed with us. It was Amazon, and then we had a version of it in South Africa, that's Takealot. There's more into it that could be done. I don't think we're exploiting it. When I say we, I mean us, because right now, how many of you, by the show of hands, have a business live that is making them some little bit of cash from Takealot? How many? I don't see hands. Even mine is not up. And the question becomes why? Why is that? What can stop you? What is stopping you from buying a product and putting it in the marketplace? What's stopping you from doing that? Because Takealot doesn't own those products. They are now forced to own certain products and distribute them because there are not too many people putting services on the marketplace. Anyways, I digress. But the business model here is that it's an online marketplace. It's commission-based revenue. You put your service and they get a little bit of percentage of revenue share by what you put in as your product. And obviously what they provide for you is network and the ability for them to have a scalable platform that will allow you to carry out your services and to get your money and to make sure that you're selling as much as possible to as many people as possible. And their business plans talks about how many warehouses are we going to build? Are we going to build one warehouse in Joburg? Are we going to build another one in Cape Town? Are we going to build another one in Tanzania? And how much we're going to spend on marketing to get people into this marketplace. The whole point of that is to drive network effects, but that's a business plan way. What defines the model of how Takealot works is on Takealot, the actual model of online marketplace and how we're going to do the revenues. Cool. I feel like there is no time, so I will take a moment and pause here, and I'm definitely asking for a session. Kiabetsu, can you please ask me that question about value chain on the chat, please? I want to do a video, and then it will be the first thing I start with, so that I make it so clear. I don't want to rush, right? I think it was Kia. Cool. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
Wasn't me.
It wasn't Kia. Okay, so value chain, I know I saw someone. Please just say to me, because I want to clarify, and if it means that I need to add a slide that explains it thoroughly for what it is, happy to do so. And then I'll re-upload, because these slides are already uploaded on the platform. So then I'll re-upload that as well. And we can chat about it as well. Oh, okay. That's it on my side. Unless anyone has any questions, I'll follow up on the assignment stuff, and I'll also ask about the date movement, considering where we are right now. But then if it moves, I think everyone sort of needs to be okay with the move, because if it moves, it means that many things could be clamped towards the end. You could be doing your assignments, both of them close to each other, and also preparing for exams. Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I think I have the exact slide that I didn't add on that. I can add that. Don't worry. So is everyone okay? Yes, yes.
Quick one. Has the WhatsApp? Is there WhatsApp already for this module? WhatsApp group?
No, there isn't. Please feel free to create it.
Okay. We should probably
they
create
once
it
said
now.
to me, no WhatsApp, whatever's. But me, I'll do it. And if you do it, add a link here so that we can all just join from here. You can share the link on this chat.
Okay, cool.
Is that fair?
Okay.
Yeah, it will make things easy, because now I always have to go and do announcements, of which I can, but I feel like it's more formal. Whereas if something we can just say what we need to say there. It could be much easier.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'll put the link.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Yolanda.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.